Welcome to the Safe Par Golf Podcast, where two average golfers talk about golf and things. I'm your host, Derek.
I'm your host, Dominic.
We are currently on episode 126, and we have a very special guest today. We have Michael with Fig Tree Golf. They are a faith-inspired golf gear company. If you're not following them on Instagram, make sure to hit that follow button. Their handle is at Fig Tree Golf, FIGTREEGOLF. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm, like I said before, I'm honored. So this is cool.
Absolutely. Let's just dive right in. Can you tell us, about the history of Fig Tree Golf and how it got started?
Yeah. So just small history on me. I'm a firefighter. I've been doing that.
Oh,
that's not going very well.
Oh, sorry, we lost you there for a second. We heard you were a firefighter. So,
yeah, it says internet unstable. Awesome. That makes no sense.
It's kind of funny that you say that. We literally have sirens going in the background right now.
That's funny. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
You good?
Yep. We're good. We were just trying to turn up the volume just a little bit. I mean, we can still hear you. So we're all good. Sorry about that. A little bit of a delay. So you're a firefighter, and what was the rest of the story? Sorry about that. We couldn't hear you.
Yeah. So I've been doing that for 13 years. Pretty much, if you're a fireman, you probably have like some type of side gig, and that's kind of like the MO of firefighters. And I run a real estate media company. I've been doing that for 7 years now, and so that's kind of the history on me. But so how Fig Tree Golf came to be was so actually about 3 years ago. Up till that point, I considered myself pretty much an atheist. Like I was what you called a dark cloud at the beginning of my career. And I saw some things that no human should probably ever see. And I went down a different path of where I should have gone. Instead of leaning on my faith, I kind of walked away from it. And kind of a dark time in my life, dealing with PTSD and stuff like that. Worked through that, but then about 2.5, 3 years ago, I was wanting to promote, and it was pretty much just another way of filling a void of, I was always chasing something, whether if it was racing cars or trying to do the CrossFit games or, playing golf, whatever. I knew looking at it, I was like, okay, this is what I want. I want to become a driver. I want to promote. But I knew it wasn't going to fill the void. And so I made a deal with myself during the study process that I was like, okay, I'm going to read the Bible just as much as I'm going to read the study material.
Yep.
And I pretty much was like, and at the time I was still kind of in that weird, like atheist, am I agnostic? I didn't know who I was. And so I just read through the Gospels as much as I was reading through that book. And the biggest part that stuck to me that really started taking a hold of me was in Matthew 7. And that's pretty much when Jesus was kind of in his Scotty Scheffler stage of if I were to relate it to golf, he was just awesome. On that run of just, of just laying down just wisdom and, teaching us how we should live and how to go about life. And so in Matthew 7:15, I'll read it real quick, but just kind of give you
Sure.
So it says, beware of false prophets.
I know.
Yeah. So it's like, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears fruit, but a diseased tree bears bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor a diseased tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, you will recognize them by their fruits. And so that hit me at the core. I was like, man, as a fireman, as a father, as a husband, as an anything, I was just a fruitless tree. I wasn't doing anything for God's kingdom. Wasn't doing anything for my children, anything. And so it was really just from that moment on, I was just like, you know what? I believe that God sent his son to die for our sins on a cross. And that's how I'm going to live my life. I'm going to live for you, God. And so that's kind of where my faith turned. But then 6 months later, I started picking up golf again. Started playing with my dad, and I played when I was younger in high school and then, college when I was playing football and stuff. But started having like okay, I want to do something for God. I built this company. It's successful, but I did it for me. And I was like, I want to build something for God, for his kingdom. And so I like just, fumbled through what can I do. And I was at Shields. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the story or store, Shields. Mm-hmm. And I was going through like their golf, like apparel stuff. And I was looking at stuff and I was like, man, I was like, I don't want to wear this. I want to wear that. I was like, man, I wonder how they make this stuff. And so I started Googling like Christian golf clothing or Christian clothing. And, you see like the big names like Full Strength, that like workout stuff. And I couldn't really find really any other company that was doing some like specific Christian golf. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to start praying about this. And I was sitting. It was over 1 Corinthians 10:31 is whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, do it for the glory of God. And it was just like a ton of bricks hit. Okay, I'm going to do this. And so here we are on the Safe Par podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, so that's kind of how it's definitely, it's taken off faster than I ever expected.
Oh, sorry, I was going to interrupt. Yeah. But as I say, everyone kind of has their different walk of life and all that. When you're talking about reading, and did you just kind of dive into it yourself? Did you have a lot of people kind of like, trying to give you some suggestions or recommendations of like what to read? Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, where do I start? And a lot of people will say the New Testament, which is Matthew's the first book in the New Testament, but just kind of curious because sometimes people read into that and they're not really, I'm also a follower, but trying to learn and understand certain aspects of the Bible, is that sometimes can be overwhelming, right? And so you're like, well, some of these stories seems really far-fetched, or really like when you start reading and then diving into it, is that something that you had to have, it just hit you when you just kind of were starting to read through it? Or did you really have a lot of people, mentors or help kind of giving you some advice?
Yeah. So I grew up Catholic. And so I had a, I guess religious background. And then, when I started dating my wife in high school, she dragged me to church. I did that thing because I didn't want her to break up with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I was doing that for the wrong reasons at the time, but it worked out because we're still married. And
well, good. Yeah.
But no, yeah, but no. So whenever I was like kind of at my low point, my wife was, she was praying for me, and I had family praying for me, but I still went to church, with them. I just wasn't there, my presence was there, but I was checked out. Yeah. But I remember there was a sermon, and it was, Jimmy, the pastor, he was like, if you want some place to start, just start with the Gospels, and then pretty much work backwards from there almost. Yeah. And that's the best advice that I was given. And I'd heard it before, but it was just like one of those days where it was just like, and it was during that time period. And I was just like, all right, there's been way too many like signs and punches in the gut to like, I just need to pursue this.
Just do it.
And so that's what I would suggest is, start with the Gospels. That's the bread and butter of, of our salvation, and everything you find, it kind of falls into place. That's what I would suggest.
Like as far as like the logo, like where did the name and the logo come from? I know you're reading part of the gospel there, but was that like, kind of hit that like that's what I want to do? Was there a whole lot of thought process going into the design?
Yeah, there was. I racked my brain on it for like a good 3 to 4 months, and I kept it to myself. I didn't even tell my wife about it. Like I was just like kept it secret. I had like the incognito tabs on my phone of me like Googling like brands and stuff, and like how doing all this stuff because I wanted to. I don't know. Like I feel guilty about it. Like do it because I kept it from my wife, it was a good thing that I kept from her.
Sure.
But yeah, so like the whole fig tree deal, with Matthew 7, it was, I was like, that was me. And so I'm like, I wanted to imprint kind of like my own like stamp on it because that was me. I was a fruitless tree. And it's like the perfect illustration of, uh, how we should live our lives. We should be bearing fruit for the kingdom. And so that's how I came up with that. And our secondary logo is like the golf clubs with the cross that you see like on the sleeve. And I just kind of wanted something to play into, specifically golf. So,
it's very cool.
But yeah, that's how I came up with it. It was pretty much just Matthew 7.
Sure. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of so the polo, you said the cross, the golf clubs, but then it also has the Bible verse in there. It kind of gave me a little bit of the but like In-N-Out Burger vibe. So we're in the Midwest here, so we don't really get to go to In-N-Out Burger very often. But when I do, I like to make my correction. But the same thing, like on the bottom of the cup, there's a Bible verse. And my favorite verse is Proverbs 3:5-6, and that one is normal.
Oh, there's a Bible verse in the bottom of an In-N-Out cup.
Yep.
Oh, good thing I threw that thing away.
Well, it's just like the regular. They're not like the keep cups, but it's just kind of a little thing that'll have it on the bottom. But that was leading me to my question. Was there an immediate intention of like putting that logo or the verse, somewhere incorporated into the polos?
Yes, yeah, for sure. That was because that's kind of just our mission statement. Our side, like that's kind of like our core verse for the brand. Was whatever you do. I mean, it's people were like, that's been like kind of one of the struggles is, people are like, oh, great, putting God into golf. God doesn't belong in golf. And, he belongs in everything that you do. So whether you're, tying your shoes to go play around or you're wearing the same shirt to church or to lunch, I mean, you can have that mentality with everything. And so that's why I wanted it to be part of the brand. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate the polos. I'm currently wearing the Flowers polo, and the fit is fantastic. The quality is really nice. And again, we're just talking about, but like the details, the logo, I really like that personally. And then the verse, I think it's like a really cool message behind the polos. Is it the same Bible verse on every polo, or do you have different verses on different polos?
Yeah, so we have the same verse on every single polo, just because it is kind of like our foundational verse that we have now.
Sure.
I am currently working on trying to like make different like the Proverbs, like that's kind of a favorite, and then you have like Joshua 1:9, and then you have like the ones that you hear all the I've been trying to create others like different works, but it's a slow process. I'm very picky on like how things fit, how things look, and because like I said with the 1 Corinthians 31, like doing it for the glory of God, not just to make a buck. Like I actually want what you're wearing. Like if I wanted to bring on the course, which it has. Like I never even thought a shirt could conversation, but it does. Mm-hmm. It's living proof that it does. And I've been able to share my testimony and share Christ with complete strangers. And so it's been awesome. So
very cool. Me and Dom are big, apparel, sneakerhead type of people. And we get a lot of guests that have started different apparel brands. And I think it's so fascinating, like hearing everyone's story of like how they've started, because, there's things that we don't think about, or us consumers, as far as trying to find the right sample pieces and how expensive that can be. Can you tell us a little bit about the process of like just finding the right materials and finding, the right manufacturer of how you went about that, and maybe talk about maybe some of your experiences, whether they're good or bad?
Yeah. So if I knew nothing about anything.
And now we'll never
really. I didn't. I was, as naive as they come. How I started my other business. Am I frozen?
You were frozen.
You were, and then it caught up.
Yep.
And now we're here.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, I didn't know anything. pretty much just first engineered how other companies did it and figured out like where they were having their, where the textiles were coming from. And I went about it that way. And then another resource was there's an Instagram account called Land Force, and he is a wealth of information, just free information where he's like, hey, if you're looking for a hat manufacturer, this is the one. Or he'll like be like, hey, do you want to make, shirts like Bad Birdie, check out their import records. And he has a really good way of teaching. And I kind of leaned on that a little bit. And then pretty much started getting samples from different manufacturers.
I'm doing a little fancy dances.
You gotta press the time.
We'll get back.
Are we?
Kind of. Let's see. You can see him. He knows how to like completely just freeze up.
I know, that's crazy. You know what's crazy is we're frozen in the back.
Oh yeah. I didn't even. Oh, he was talking about the reflection. I didn't even notice.
I just about the
because I'm looking like right at the mic, so I couldn't like see.
Yeah. No, look, that's us.
That's us.
That's us.
It's us.
That's us.
Well, little technical difficulties. We'll give it a second. We've had this happen once or twice before.
I've never felt so out of place on a podcast in my life.
It's okay.
I'm taking it all in.
Yeah,
I'm taking it all in. But oh my god.
We gotta get one that like I'm just like totally like don't even know what's going on.
What are we gonna talk about?
I don't know. Gotta find a guest though that I'm like
that you know nothing.
Yeah, I don't know anything about golf. Or no, you could be like a really like good like food snob. Because I mean I know food, but
we should get a coffee snob, and then he could critique the shit out of you and your shitty flowers.
That would be good. Yes, I need help. That's hard.
There we go.
We're back.
All right.
All right. We've had that happen before. No problem at all. We were
this is where I wish I knew how to edit, and then put in the technical difficulty part.
That would be kind of cool. Yeah.
I don't know how to edit though.
3 minutes. Yeah, a couple of moments later.
10 years later.
But no, just going back to the design process. I think the guy that you had mentioned, I think I've seen him post some stuff before in the past where he'll kind of show you different manufacturers that were some of these high-end brands or big brands.
Where they like buy it from. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to put a different hard line into my computer. See if that works.
Not that shirt.
That's the
I like that shirt.
Yeah. So is it white and green then I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, see, but like those are my favorites. Just I have my new Wave belt on. Yeah,
I like that.
I wore it when I played on.
Sorry, I'm trying to get this.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
All right.
Podcasting's it's an adventure.
It is, yeah. That's kind of the beauty behind this whole thing. And I think some people really enjoy these because of that. Like we're not this high end, it's just us
we're
two.
Getting there.
We're
getting there. You should see our lights.
We do have some nice lights, but Dom pretty much is the brain behind everything. So we do a good job and he does a great job of doing all this, but we don't have a crew behind us, doing everything. So people I think enjoy that. But
we should get a crew.
That would be cool.
We got 2 people next door.
So I got a couple of the questions here for you. So you have obviously some men's apparel, you have youth apparel, which is really cool, and you do have a women's tab on your website. And it sounds like you're going to be releasing or launching some women's apparel here in the near future. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the women's apparel has been the most difficult. One, because I'm not a woman, and so trying to design for a woman when I only have like one that I live with and getting like her tastes and trying to figure out like how everything I think I just lost you again.
I say we can hear you okay.
Oh yeah,
so it's all good here on our end. So
okay, I don't know what's going on. I have like the fastest internet you can possibly.
Where I used to live a while back, it was kind of in a little ways away, and I would always have issues with our internet. Now I live downtown, so it's obviously it's a little bit easier to get some high speed internet. But I hear you there.
Yeah.
Have you
but yeah,
I was gonna say, have you like thought about, or I know it's not very, I know some of the other apparel companies are now trying to introduce women's apparel. Have you considered or thought about trying to do the same designs to like kind of like a men's, women's matching kind of,
yeah,
throw that on there as well?
yeah. So I actually, three of the designs that we just released. So the flowers, the pink, or the sky, and the joy, the pink one, will all be in the women's.
Yeah.
And then I have two other sleeveless that are coming in too. But yeah, trying like getting the fit correctly, and because like I'm not gonna please everybody. Like I learned that very quickly as a fireman. Like you're never gonna please everybody, so just don't even try. Um, but I did my best to kind of like field the biggest complaints that I've seen in other women's clothing. And my wife is very honest when it comes to like how things fit. And so like she was a big help. And then like just kind of getting like looking at reviews for other, manufacturers or brands and seeing what the complaints were, like see if I could fix that.
That's a good idea.
And so that's pretty much what I did is I had, this first batch come in and I was ready to launch. And I started like, I had my wife like, hey, I want you to try on like 3 different sizes, one tight, one medium, one large, just to kind of see like where it falls and how it feels. And I wasn't happy. And so I was just like, you know what? I can't do this. Like, I can't just put this out there because it's not 100%. It's not going to, in my opinion, it's not going to bring glory to God that I just kind of just like put a 3/4 done design out there. And so I went straight back to the manufacturers like, hey, we got to fix this, and this, and this. And they were like, what? Like, I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, but I just, it was, so it worked out though. Cause now how it fits now I think is perfect. Or I said it's close to perfect. Nothing can ever be perfect, but
Sure.
but yeah, we're really excited. I'm supposed to get everything in the next couple weeks. So yeah, real excited about that.
Do you sell directly just like online? Are you involved like locally, like in the community, or like what's your biggest like driver as far as trying to push your apparel?
So right now everything's mostly just on social media.
Sure.
I was pretty fortunate. I got hooked up with this marketing company called PSM, and they have been, because I don't know anything, and so I'm just like I was kind of just like flying by the seat of my pants of like doing paid ads here, paid ads there. I'm just like throwing away money, and so I was like I need someone to help, and so I got hooked up with Spencer through PSM, and man, it's just it. I really didn't know anything. Like and I went to him like that, like, hey man, I don't know what I don't know. So
Yeah.
just I'm a blank canvas, and man, it's been amazing. Uh, I truly am blessed on how fast it's been going. It's very overwhelming, but it's pretty cool to see how it grows. But yeah, online is definitely the biggest driver for us. We're getting into more pro shops. There's a local place in here in town that are wanting to pick us. As far as like pro shops go, we have there's Kelly Plantation in Florida. They have our polos, and then there's a private country club in Branson, Missouri, and they also have our product. And then I'm currently talking with a few other clubs. So
that's awesome. You have actually like a decent amount of apparel options as far as polos, men's polos. I mean, what's the process been like as far as finding that, like you said, you want to make sure that they're up to your quality of what you like. Do you plan on releasing other men's and youth apparel as well, including with the women's line as well?
Yes. So we'll have 4 new polos before the 4th of July, as well as like women's and youth. And then I also because I want to be able to like have something out there for everybody. Because there's some people that don't like that polyester spandex blend, like they like the old school 100% cotton, and so we'll have some of those coming probably in the fall, because it's more of like, I live in Texas, so like 100% cotton shirt is more of like a winter shirt for us.
Sure.
And that was one of the things
That must be rough, right?
Yeah. And I play golf in the middle of the day whenever it's 104. It's maybe it's just like me being a fireman, like I'm maybe used to it. I don't know, used to it, I guess. But that was I was lucky because I actually got to test all of the shirts that came in during the heat of the summer. And so I found out really quickly, I was like, whoa, this one doesn't work. This one's falling apart. And this was the design and the fabric consistency that held up perfectly during, those 105, degree rounds, 100% humidity. And then same thing with like this hat. This hat is actually like the third design of it, of trying to figure out the right composition of material to where it's not going to show sweat like the first, round out of the gate. So what's really cool is this hat, I wore it yesterday and it was like the hottest it's been in a while with 100% humidity, and hasn't shown 1 ounce of sweat stain. And so I was like, okay, I finally found, the ingredients, the right, composition of the hat. So, but yeah, I feel like it's slow, but yeah, we're releasing a lot of new stuff this next year, at the end of this year, and we're really excited about it. So
that's exciting. We've had actually, I think Dom is the one that reached out to Austin Ebersole, who we've had on the podcast, who's an awesome guest. But you have athletes on your website. Can you tell us a little bit about the athletes, how you become a Fig Tree athlete, and are you looking to add to your roster of athletes?
You just want to be sponsored, don't you?
Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah. So Austin, that was kind of a funny thing. So he's the number one fling golfer in the world. And, he has like his main, he has Callaway, and he has, Pins and Aces. And we got hooked up on Instagram. It was weird, kind of happenstance on everything, where I just reached out and was like, hey, this is really cool. Like, I've never heard of fling golf. I was like, but, I kind of went through his Instagram and saw that he had, posted some stuff about, his faith. And I just was like, hey, like, I'm a Christian golf brand. I would love to send you something to, just check out. I don't know if you wear this stuff whenever you fling golf, and we became fast friends. And he wears our hats during the team competition. And so that's how I got hooked up with Austin. And then we have John Wise. He's on the East Coast as well. He plays in 4-ball. And he kind of has not a exact story as mine, but he kind of went away from his faith, and then came back to it, and now he works for a nonprofit. And so we've teamed up with him, and then our 2 youth athletes, Mason and Grayson. Mason is an insane golfer. He could potentially be the next Scotty Scheffler. Like, if he were to keep his nose to the grindstone, and I truly believe, watching him swing the club and his just demeanor on the golf course, it's incredible. And for being that young, and then, Grayson's another one. He's a hoot, man. I think he knows social media better than like I do. Like, some of the reels that he posts and stuff, and I'm like, dude, you're like 11 years old. How did you figure out how to do that? Like, yeah, I know. And so yeah, like, I've been really blessed on, who we have on as our fully sponsored athletes. And yes, we are bringing on a few more this year with how fast we're growing. I want to bring on 2 female athletes, and it's really exciting right now in the world of golf, is that we're seeing this, kind of this like blow up of ladies golf. And like, it's nice because in between the PGA events, I can still watch golf. I'm watching the LPGA, and these girls are hitting like 100% fairways and 100% greens. And I'm like, create a Masters for these girls, like, because they would put on a clinic. And
That's actually a really good idea. That would be awesome.
I know. And I was during the Masters this year. I told my wife, I'm like, how cool would it be to like either the weekend before, the weekend after, or do something to where you could have the LPGA, you know, come in and okay, let's put them up against the guys and see like what kind of, you know, turmoil they can, you know, because
Sure.
yeah, because I mean, you saw what happened to this year's Masters. Granted, there was like 30, 40 mile an hour wind gusts, but I truly believe some of the ways that these women navigate the course is incredible, you know, because they're not hitting the Rory 350 drives, but they are picking apart these golf courses like it's nothing, and it's fun to watch.
They have some of the best swings ever. I mean, they're just smooth, the tempo, everything. Like you said, they're not necessarily swinging out of their shoes, hitting a 330-yard drive, but they're still hitting the ball out there a ways. But this swing is just completely.
Yeah.
And we had I think it was 2 podcasts ago. It was just me and Dom solo, and we were talking about Nelly Porta, how she was 5 wins in a row, and then she had 5 and then she won 6, or is it 4 and then won 5? I can't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In any case,
I'm trying to remember. I'm like deep in foul.
Yeah.
But in any case, you know, again, she's like, there's only one other woman golfer that actually has ever done that, and it was, you know, a long time ago. So
yeah,
it's really awesome to see, and not just to expand on female athletes, but not even just in golf industry. You got Caitlin Clark, you got, I mean, the Paige Beckers, who's from here, Minnesota. I mean, it's nice to see that female athletes are now getting more and more attention as they deserve. So it's really cool to see that. So that's awesome that you're, you know, trying to bring on a couple more athletes, including female athletes. So it's very cool. Can you tell us a little bit about the Buckner International? It's on your website. It's a nonprofit, and kind of how you made an impact on that nonprofit.
I hate the way you spelled international.
Yeah, that wasn't very good.
No, you kind of butchered that. There you go.
There we go.
Oh, is it? Do I have it misspelled? Or
no.
Oh,
I was like,
no.
just racing by.
So like you're looking at is like, this is my computer. It's my setup. Derek's got his off to the side of like note types, and his spelling isn't the best part of him as a person.
I won a couple spelling bees in 2nd, 3rd grade, but yeah, nowadays I just kind of race.
Did you do it now?
Some words, yeah. But on this, I just know what I'm going to say, so I don't need to spell it too quickly. But yes, it was like,
hey man, there's no judgment here. I'll text my wife or call her like, hey, how do you spell this? And she's like, you literally just spelled it to me. I'm like, okay, just making sure. Like
but that's kind of the cool thing about our podcast is, you know, Dom is very, like, we balance off one another really well, but I kind of try to be pretty like organized. Not that Dom's not organized, he is, but when it comes to the podcast, kind of pretty organic, you know.
Oh God, you should see me when you're not here.
But it's good to have a couple talking points, you know, try to make it as organic as possible. But it's nice to have things, because sometimes you have a good thought 3 hours before you're going to have the episode, and then you might, if you don't write it down or type it down or type it in, it's like totally skips past you, and you're like, oh, I wish I would ask that. So but yeah, back to the nonprofit. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So one of the things whenever I started this was I wanted to, you know, of course, you know, bringing glory to God with the brand, but I wanted to make an impact on something that was close to me. And so at the beginning of my career, like I said earlier, you know, I saw things happen to kids that should never happen to kids. I saw kids in situations where they shouldn't be in those situations. Mm-hmm. And I made the decision early on was, okay, with everything that we sell, I'm putting a large portion, and I want to donate it to an organization specifically for adoption. And I was pretty picky on that because if you know anything about, like, you know, nonprofits and stuff like that, sometimes the money that you donate is going to the CEO's pockets.
Yeah, and so not going to the actual nonprofit.
Yeah, and so during that process, it was kind of a God thing where I went on a volunteer thing with my daughter with her school to the Buckner International, where they put together the shoes to send over to Africa. And kind of hearing like where Buckner came from. It was right in the middle of Dallas, like their headquarters. And they're one of the oldest adoption agencies in the country. They started right after the Civil War. Because of, the Civil War, you had all those, the dads and moms that were dead. So you just had kids with no parents. And so there was the Buckner Orphanage. And then over the course of 100 years, it turned into this giant nonprofit of, donating shoes to third world countries and, women's services, foster and adoption care. And so I reached out to one of their contacts and I was like, hey, this is a brand I'm currently creating or getting launched. I'd love to partner with you but I want to make sure that whatever I donate is going to adoption. Like it's actually going to help these families come in and, be able to adopt these kids, or it's going to go to, the kids that are in that limbo of, are they going to age out, of the system? And so I wanted there to be some type of impact that I could create in that because of what I had seen in the past. And so yeah, that's kind of the deal with Buckner. And I hope that I can build this brand to where I can write a check that has many, many zeros on it to them, because of, like I said, what I've seen in my career and what needs to be done. I mean, because it's crazy how many kids are just waiting to be adopted. And the astronomical cost that goes along with it's ridiculous. And it's a shame that we are where we at, like our country, like we have that big of a problem. And so if I can be a small part of that, then it's a win.
That's awesome. It's great to hear because like you said, I think sometimes that is a big setback for people to donate to nonprofits because you hear so many stories of people that are, you're trying to do something good for the community or for whoever it might be. And it turns out that the richer, they're just getting richer. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's not really the whole process or what the idea for a nonprofit is. So that's awesome. Yeah. Just got a few more questions for you. As far as like, what was your first design that you sold?
Oh man, I should have had that pulled up. So I was messing with Illustrator. Luckily with being a professional photographer and having that side of things, I had like access to all these, the Adobe, workshop. And so I started messing around with Illustrator and creating like patterns and designs and trying to figure out how to do stuff and, the tech packs and all that kind of stuff. And the original design was like this, like shark tooth looking design. I was never going to do it. I was just like trying to figure out how to like your shirt. So like I was trying to figure out like how patterns works and all that kind of stuff. But it's so funny, like looking back and looking at that, it's like, I'm so glad I never had that printed because it was horrible. I'm like,
you got to start somewhere though, right?
I know. And it's, but yeah, that was kind of the first one, but I guess the original one that was actually done was the Fishers of Men, that had the Christian fish symbol on it. And that one was really cool because when I first wore that out on the course, I was playing with a random group, and I think we were on like the 5th or 6th tee box, and the guy kind of came up to me because I was playing a different tee box than everybody else, and he looks at me and he goes, I was wondering what the design was. And he's like, where did you get that? And so then it led into, well, this is what, and he was like, well, what made you do that? And then it was like, bam, I get to, for the rest of the round, he's asking me questions about my own testimony, and I'm being able to share, Christ and, my faith, and not in like a pushy way. Cause that's like one of the things is like, I'm not one of those guys that's like, knocking the door like, hey, Jesus Christ is your personal savior.
That make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it's like, I
hear you.
I don't feel like that's the right way to do it. In my opinion, calling myself a Christian, it's more so as trying to be as Christ-like as possible, just loving on people, literally in Matthew 7, it talks about the golden rule. Like, that's truly what it means to be Christ-like. You know, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I played golf today, and my wife will probably never play golf with me again about how mad I got. But you know, we all fall short of the glory of God, and that's just, you know, that's where we're at. But yeah, the original question, the shirt was horrible, and it'll probably never see the light of day. So
what is your favorite item that you have on your website currently, or that you've sold? I know you have some items. You have a lot of items that are sold out, which is obviously awesome for you. Yeah, exactly. But what's your personal favorite?
My personal favorite was probably the first ball marker I made, and it had the 1 Corinthians 10:31 Bible verse on it. That was probably my favorite one. And I still have the original. I keep it on my belt loop on the magnet. And I'm surprised I haven't lost it yet, which is like a miracle in itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably my favorite so far. And it was actually like the most popular ball marker that we've done so far, which I was really like, I didn't think it would do well, just because it's kind of like, it's really small. And it was like one of the first things to sell out. And I was just like, wow, that was kind of weird. And so I have some more coming, and you know, some of our athletes, like, you know, Austin, he gave me his ideas of like, hey, you should put this Bible verse on there. You should do this, or you should do that. So I don't know if he'll like listen to this or not, but I do have a Showtime ball marker. Yeah, Showtime Fling ball marker coming with his Bible verse and everything to kind of, you know, so just give some credit to him on his, because he has helped me. He has, like, you know, he introduced me to a bunch of people in the fling golf world. And so I was like, you know what, like, I'm going to go ahead and do this. He'll get a kick out of it. And it has his favorite Bible verse on it. And so it's like, so that's coming. So
that's awesome.
Austin, if you're listening,
have you ever tried fling golf by any chance?
Yes.
So what's your take on it? You have a fling stick, right? Austin sent you one.
I do, and it's signed.
It is signed. Okay.
It is signed.
Have you tried it at all?
I've held it.
Just held it. Okay. So what's your take on it? Because I know some people are like.
So I want to try it. I don't want to rub his signature off though. Yeah. He signed the grip.
Oh, right on it.
I'm like, you dummy. But yeah, no. So he signed the grip, and I was like, that's super cool, and I love it.
No, I can't use it. Number one fling golfer in the world autograph. That's a rare piece.
I know it's going on eBay.
So what are your thoughts? Because I know there's a lot of negativity, and there's negativity in everything, right? Obviously, there's a lot of internet trolls. But what is your take? Because it sometimes looks like it would be a lot easier, but at the same time, I feel like just looking at it and trying it is totally, or thinking what you're going to do is totally two different things. So, what's your take?
Man, it is hard. It is really hard. So today, I actually had my fling stick in my bag. And I told my wife, we were like on the 14th tee box, and I was like, I'm really thinking about throwing away my clubs and just playing fling golf, babe. And she just laughs at me, but it's really hard to get like the distance correct, and like know the height that you're supposed to throw it, and the technique in putting. Like when I see like Austin putting, I like 6-putted with it like the first time. Like I putted, I'm like, all right, the ball's not going anywhere, and this is really awkward. And so when people say like, oh, you play that because you couldn't cut it as a golfer, it was like, well, people don't really know that Austin was like a 1 or 2 handicap before he, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's so.
I'm not too
to navigate to everyone, because if you do have a bad back like myself, it can help. So I mean, if you can't swing a club, you could fling the ball.
Yeah, so. I mean, a 1 handicap, 2 handicap. I mean, anything really under 10 or under 5 is really good.
To me, if you're a single digit, you're like amazing.
Yeah, exactly. I've played with a couple 1, 2, 5 handicap golfers, and they're on another level. That's for sure. So it is funny though, because I know sometimes he'll kind of clap back, is like show a video. He's like, I'm actually a really good golfer, which is true. When we had him on the podcast, we were talking about that.
I just messaged him.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Okay. Yeah, he'll probably tune in. He's been always a good supporter. We've been a supporter of his as well. And so, again, that was kind of how we got in contact with you, which is really cool. Just a couple more questions. What is I asked you what your favorite item is. If there's one piece of advice you can give.
Well, hold on.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I don't know why you didn't ask this. Like, what's your best seller? Like that you,
Oh, yes.
like we've talked about your favorite, your first, but like, what is the item that people are like needing?
So the original gray hat version of this, I get messages probably 3 times a day on Instagram and Facebook and emails like, hey, when is the gray snapback going to be back in stock? I don't know why. It's like, it's not my favorite color. And it's like, it was my least favorite item, actually, like whenever I first put it out, because after I had like worn it and I looked at it and I was like, man, I should have looked at this more before I put it out there. But then it ended up being like the best seller. And I get asked about it nonstop. And so if anybody's listening and they have asked me, it will be back in stock in June. And it'll actually be the better material to where it's not going to show sweat stains or anything like that. But yeah, that's the best seller. And then behind that was the Greener Pastures polo. That one went pretty quick. And then I'm rehashing that one currently. So
We've had that a few times where we've asked some of the other guests we've had on when they were like apparel companies, and it's funny how like the one
it's always the thing that they hate,
or they least would expect. It's like, wait, what? That's not the one that I thought. So
yeah,
funny how it goes like that. So again, this is a question we typically ask most of our guests. You're an entrepreneur. So your own company. If there's one piece of advice you could give someone, whether they're starting a golf related company or just any company in general, like what would be that piece of advice you give them?
I would say, like, I actually was, I got a message a couple weeks back from a lady who kind of asked me the same question. And my thing is, and it's kind of like the cliche thing coming from a Christian, but pray about it. Like really pray about it. And if you're not religious or you're not, a Christian or whatever, then meditate on it. Like think about it for a very long time. Don't just like go like jumping in, like really figure out why. And once you find your why, then start working towards it. But don't let because there was a lot of roadblocks, the money of trying to, give enough, money to buy whether it's the samples or the first stock and all that kind of stuff. Like I don't know, I feel like if you have a dream, if you have a passion for something, just go for it, because you only have this life once. I don't know, I guess that's the nitty gritty answer would be just go for it.
Sure.
So
it's a great piece of advice. Yeah. And we said this many times. We've seen things like some people just are scared. They're, scared to fail and they just don't take that initial step. And I think that's a great piece of advice.
It's my favorite Ron Swanson quote. Yeah. Don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. My favorite quote.
Yep.
I like that. Just a couple of rapid fire questions. There are just a few of them here. So we talked about like you have athletes on there. So this is kind of similar to that, but like who would your dream collab or your dream athlete be that if you were to like have someone join your team?
Excluding Derek.
Yeah.
We'll talk after.
Yeah.
So I think like as far as golf goes, you're always going to have like the, as of right now, the cliche answer saying, Scotty Scheffler. Yeah. Like that's like the dream. I honestly like his caddy.
His caddy just takes his words away.
Yeah. Good transition.
Yep.
The dude in general and what he puts out.
We're almost there.
These are sick.
Yeah. I like the
hold on.
A PGA players with Identity Sports. They did like this kind of like podcast roundtable type thing at this church up in Frisco. And I got to meet them and, they're talking about how like, they're doing like Bible studies on tour and stuff like that. And so I got to meet Tom and Hayden and that was really cool. So hopefully I get to do something with them. But yeah, Scotty Scheffler and Ted Scott are probably
The two.
yeah,
Do you prefer to walk or ride on the golf course?
walk. The golf cart was the worst thing to ever happen to the sport of golf, unfortunately. I have a really bad back. I had back surgery about 6 years ago. And so riding on a golf cart and golfing do not mix well. So
Sure.
yeah.
Favorite golf course that you've played?
It'd probably have to be the Crested Butte Country Club. There's a tee box that's like, I think it's like at 9,998 feet or something. And it's really cool. It like overlooks the entire Crested Butte Valley. And the elevation change is just, you've probably seen like the pictures of like those golf courses like out in Utah and stuff where like it's just like the tee box is elevated. This is just on a whole other level because you have, the mountain peaks in the background. You've got the city way off in the distance. Yeah, definitely the country club at Crested Butte.
Awesome. So we always end the podcast with a food related question. So Dom, you can ask it however you like.
So without telling us where you are in Texas, but we go to Texas, we're near you. Where are we going to go eat? And please say barbecue because I love barbecue.
So there's a place called Hard Eight. That's pretty good. And then, man, so I'm kind of a Mexican food guy. Texas has some
people
really
like Mexican food too.
Yeah. Oh man. And honestly, like I'm kind of spoiled because my father-in-law makes literally like we've been after him to like start his own barbecue restaurant for like since I've been with my wife, and he makes the best barbecue. But yeah, Hard Eight's really good. That's pretty much it. We don't eat barbecue too often out to eat just because I'll sit there and burp it up for the rest of the night. Yeah. But if my favorite restaurant, if you already come to Texas, my favorite restaurant would probably be Nick and Sam's. We're going to be spending probably $500, but it will be the best dinner that you've ever had. And you'll probably get to see either like a Dallas Stars player or Dallas Mavericks or, it's really cool atmosphere.
Is it like a steakhouse type?
I want to see Dirk.
Yeah, Dirk or Luka.
Oh, yeah,
so I don't care about Luka. I want to see Dirk. I want to go, damn.
He's tall.
I know.
Yeah, you're guaranteed to see some type of celebrity or professional athlete. And what's cool is they treat you like one too. It's like when you show up, like you're not just you're not, like whatever. Like they'll sit you like right next to them sometimes. And it's really cool.
Really cool.
So if you're ever in Dallas, Nick and Sam's, it's like steak and sushi.
Okay.
But the restaurant's haunted too, apparently. So
that's cool. I'm more interested now.
Yeah, you should go look it up. There's actually like the cook that shows up. It's pretty neat. Like he was like, yeah, I was back here like chopping whatever, and he heard the door open. He thought it was like one of the like
servers or something.
Yeah, servers or something. And he walks out. He's like, hey, who's here? Nothing. Walks back in, and then the door like swings open, and he's like, what's going on? Like, but it was cool is it was one of the original morgues in Dallas, like way, way back in the day. So then there's the stories of all the weird stuff. And
interesting.
We need like a ghost hunter on the podcast.
There you go. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Michael, man,
before we end it, while you were frozen, at one point I was telling Derek, like I feel super out of place. I'm not super into the whole religion thing. It's not quite for me yet. I say yet because I never rule things out in life, right? Like, maybe one day down the road, I'm like, Jesus, come to Jesus moment, whatever. I appreciate you not cramming it down people's throats or making it uncomfortable. I also appreciate like the little touches you have on your apparel, whether it's a little cross, you flip it over and it's the Bible verse. I think it's a nice nod to people who do I don't want to say celebrate Christianity, but believe in it. I don't even like to say believe because then I still feel like it's downplaying, but people who do participate in the faith and stuff like that. Thank you for making it very, I don't want to say tolerable in like a negative way, but it's not overly done. It's not tacky. You did a very, very good job with everything. To the point where I'm, interested in learning more about the company and stuff like that. I have a couple staff at work who are very religious, and I was asking them, I was like, "Hey, what does the fig tree and Jesus mean?" And they're talking about it. I'm like, "That's really interesting." So I'm at the point where it's like I might like Google it a little bit more because like I knew about the burning bush. I don't know anything about the burning bush, but I know about a bush burning, right? Um, Anyways, I kind of go off topic and I ramble a lot. Thank you for not making it overbearing and easily accessible for everybody.
Yeah.
But also thank you for putting touches on it that people who do believe and celebrate all of this really will appreciate. I can't tell if
His
he's
breath was
I
taken
can't tell if
away
he's
from
like at a loss for words and like super mad at me.
Yeah.
No,
That's kind of where I was at. That's awesome. I appreciate your honesty and everything. And yes, I do. I took like, cause kind of like what you just said, like, jamming it down, people's throats. And what's really, you know, I know like y'all, our time's up or whatever, but whenever I started this, that was kind of like um, my thought process too, is like, I didn't want to be that, like Bible thumping, like, holier than thou. Like I am I'm a hypocrite. I am corrupt. Like it's human nature. That's who we are. That's every single person that walks through the doors of a church is a hypocrite. Yeah. And and so that's kind of the way I went about it. And it's a good reminder sometimes too, like when I'm on the course and I'm throwing my temper tantrums and, doing that kind of thing, that, okay, what am I doing this? What truly am I doing this for?
Yeah.
And so it's like little reminders. But yeah, and yeah, if you start being curious about it and everything, just, do what I did. Like just start in the Gospels and start reading. I mean, that's my best. I said it earlier, it's if anything, whether you do believe or you don't believe, the story in itself is a great story. And even if you went through the rest of your life and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to believe this. I hope you do at some point, but it's still a good roadmap on how to treat people, another person, whether they're a different color or they speak a different language, or female, male, kids, old people, whatever. If you can take those teachings that are in the Gospels and just apply it to your life, if we could have that more in our country, we would. Not saying that everybody everybody needs to be a Christian, which that'd be awesome, but if we could just apply these principles, just like the golden rule in itself, I feel like we would
Sorry,
be.
My wife was popping out here with our dog here.
Oh, you're good. But yeah, that's kind of, I appreciate you saying that, and because I took a lot of that to heart on not trying to slam it down people's throats, because you always hear about like, those pastors that are like, sitting there just like, waving that book. And then you see them in the news 2 weeks later, whether they were laundering money or child pornography and all this stuff. And you're just like sitting there, like, you literally were just like telling me about all this stuff. Like you hypocrite. Well, yeah, we are like, and that's sometimes it drives people away. And it one of the things that drove me away.
That's kind of how I was in the same boat. Like you said, I obviously kind of, Christ follower myself, but same thing though. Like for the longest time, I was the exact opposite. Never really was forced to go to church, but I go every once in a while, but it just wasn't my thing. And then all of a sudden, you run into some issues and it's like, you're not happy about something. So you got to do some sort of change, and you find a way, and everyone has their own walk of life. But I will say the same thing. There's a lot of people that sometimes make you feel uncomfortable, and you're just like, that's not how I want it. You know what I mean? So like I said, I think everything that you've done for this is awesome. And we really appreciate your story, and let us know how we can continue to help promote and, give you as much help as we can. And so we appreciate it. So thank you so much for taking the time.
And I'm normally much more vocal and involved. I wanted to sit here and kind of just take
Soak
it
it
in.
all in.
Yeah, just so it's like I kind of take it to heart, stuff like that. So I mean, I invited you on, so I appreciate it. I just wanted to like take it in, kind of learn something, and not talk over you or Derek. Just, I figured this is more of a Derek thing than a Dominic thing for now.
For now, maybe not.
Well, that's why I said for now. It's like, you know, you never know. Like a week from now, I might be like,
yeah,
that Jesus man knew what he was talking about.
Well, I know it's like one of those cliche things to hear from someone who believes, but I will be praying for you. I'll be praying for both of y'all. This, you know, for the success of this y'all's podcast, and you know, maybe you opening up, you know, the Bible to, you know, read the Gospels, and whether you decide to believe or not. I mean, like I said, there's wisdom in there that we can apply. I think one of the greatest, and it's actually a line from the show The Chosen. And it's illustrated perfectly was, you know, I think it was Matthew or Peter, but they go, people aren't going to understand this, like talking to Jesus, like people aren't going to understand this. And he says, pretty much, I'm going to say all these things, and some of these things are not going to be understood by everybody, but there's going to be one thing that I say that this one person is going to understand. And that's where this was. Like, I read through it all, but for some reason, Matthew 7:15 was the thing that hit me. And so, yeah, so I what I do like, and what I appreciate is the open-mindedness on even listening to my story, and to you know, just being open to having me on your podcast. I really do appreciate that. I truly am honored. Whenever Austin told me, like, hey, I'm sending you their information, you know, information, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And at first I was like, they're not going to have me on. Like, I literally started like 2 months ago. Like, you're crazy, dude. Like, they're not going to have me on. Cause I saw your, this, like the Instagram page before.
Yeah.
And then when he told me, and I started like looking through, I'm like, they're on their like 160th podcast or something. Like, they're not going to have me on, dude. And I didn't say that to him, but I was like, I told my wife, I was like, this. And then I got the message, and I was like, this is not real. Like, this is so cool.
So I know I've kind of, you know, we've been told no, and by we, I mean me. You know, we've had people be like, you don't have the right follower count for us. We're not going to, you know, we're just not interested until you get your numbers up. And I've always felt alienated about that. So I'm like, it doesn't matter, right? We all have stories. We're all doing the same thing. At the end of the day, it's about golf, right? Like, you know, you're faith driven, but it's golf.
Yeah.
You know, Derek and I talk about golf sometimes, golf and things. So who am I to tell you, hey, your follower count doesn't matter. I don't care.
Yeah.
Not going to have you on. Where truthfully, I think if it's interesting to me, and if it's interesting to Derek, other people find it interesting. Yeah. So it's more about the stories and the people we meet along the way versus, hey, you have this number attached to you. We don't
try to look at that.
I think that is the worst way to kind of value people, or people putting themselves out there, for example.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of one of the things that we did with our ambassador program. And I'm expanding that going into 2024. I know we already talked about the athletes or whatever, but like our ambassador program, that was one of the things that when we started it with the marketing company, he was like, hey, so we're going to put like the follower count at this. And I was like, no. I was like, we're not going to do any of that. I was like, I want to welcome everybody. I want to welcome everybody. I was like, because I know how that like feels. And like when I was in CrossFit and I was trying to get like sponsorships with that, you know, it's a kick. It's a kick. Like, man, like I am like, you know, I'd love to represent your company. I believe in your like whatever. And then to be like ostracized because I only have 500 followers. Like, so that was one of the things that we have people that have, you know, 50 followers. We have people that have, you know, 17,000. And what's funny is there's some people that are ambassadors that have 17,000, but I've got, you know, 3 of them on my full sponsored athletes that they're less than 5. You know, Austin's the only one that's you in that like upper, 10K,
Sure.
but they were the ones that were kind of with me at the beginning. And so I was like, I'm staying. Oh, did I lose you?
No. Speaking of Austin, he just liked my message.
Oh,
He was, yeah. No, that's so true though. I like that. Like you said in the dom, you said it was well spoken as far as like
I have my moments.
we don't try to. Don't get me wrong. It's cool to see. We've had some like, well, as far as like following like some larger guests when it comes to that, and it is really cool. But honestly, the guests that sometimes have maybe the smaller following or they're just kind of up and coming, like those are the stories that we really find to be like more moving. So and you know what I mean. Like regardless, it doesn't matter. We've had some that have a large following that have been really awesome, and we've had some that large following that are just like not the greatest. So it really we shouldn't really judge. It doesn't really matter. We've had some really good stories regardless of what the follow count is or the social media platform. But I will say though, the whole social media platform tool has been really cool for us because we've met in this whole podcast that we've done. They say we're 126th episode right now, and we've met some pretty cool people along the way and have developed relationships for, that we still talk to people on a daily basis or on a regular basis, I should say.
Yeah.
So no, again, we really appreciate it. We'd love to have you on again down the road. Honestly, I think it would be a blast. So I know we're booked out till July-ish, but when we get down the road,
booked out till August.
Yeah, when we get some of the new merch drops that you have, we can kind of catch up and talk about those, and hopefully have some women's apparel as well, so we can kind of cover that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome, man. Well, so nice to meet you. Appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, guys.
All right, take care.
All right, you too.